Okay, so before we even think about touching vector databases or prompt engineering or agonizing over latency, I really want to hit you right out of the gate with the absolute most crucial question every single decision maker needs to ask, and it's before writing a single line of code. Ready? Should we even build this AI? I know it sounds almost too simple, right? But honestly, in this massive rush to adopt generative AI, it is the one question that gets skipped the most. And getting it wrong? Well, that's literally how the most expensive mistakes are baked in before a project even gets off the ground. I mean, let's dive right into this quote because it absolutely nails the reality of the AI landscape right now. The hardest product judgment is talking yourself out of the build. You see, avoiding a disastrous, totally overscoped build, that is the true hallmark of a great product manager and strategist. Honestly, the single most valuable thing you can do when someone comes to you pitching this massive, all-knowing AI agent is to just narrow its scope. Narrow it down until it hurts, or just realize it shouldn't exist at all. Because if a system has no measurable owner and no clear outcome, it's a system that definitely should not be built. So in today's explainer, we're doing a massive pivot. We're zeroing in on the PM and strategy lens of AI system design. Basically, we're shifting entirely away from the technical, under-the-hood mechanics of how to build, and we're focusing strictly on the strategic business guardrails of what to build, and maybe more importantly, how to prove it actually worked. If you're the one sitting in the decider's seat, this is exactly the lens you need for your AI roadmap. Let's quickly look at our roadmap. We're going to start with the PM mindset shift, walk through the 5 product questions, uncover this absolute game changer called the 2-number rule, talk about why humans absolutely have to stay in the loop, and finally, we'll wrap up with the hard reality of economics and adoption. Let's get into it. Starting off with Chapter 1, the PM mindset shift. We really need to pull ourselves out of the builder's perspective and step directly into the decider's reality. Just look at the stark contrast here between the builder and the decider, right? An engineer looks at an AI system and they're defending the architecture. They're totally zoomed in on latency, multi-agent routing, caching, all that technical stuff. But the product manager, as a PM, you have to defend the decision to build the thing in the first place. You're looking at business outcomes, safety ceilings, governance. The crazy part is, the ambiguity is exactly the same for both of you. You're both dealing with a model that's right most of the time, but can fail in completely unpredictable ways. But while the engineer is asking, okay, how does this break? You have to ask, what does that wrong answer actually cost the business? And what guardrails do we have in its way? It's just a completely different mindset. And that brings us to Chapter 2, the 5 product questions. This is your core framework. It completely replaces the engineer's technical checklist when you're focusing on strategy. So this right here is the problem first sequence. And honestly, literally do not even touch a keyboard until you've defined step 1, your user, and a measurable business outcome. Think something like deflecting 70% of routine tickets. Then you find the smallest possible AI intervention. Seriously, don't go building some massive autonomous platform right away. Just build a simple retrieve and answer tool. Wrap that tool in strict guardrail metrics, pinpoint exactly where your human stays in the loop, and only after all of that do you map out your buildable sequence. You're basically asking, what's the absolute most constrained version we can ship first just to prove this actually works? All right, moving to Chapter 3, the 2-number rule. Listen, if you take away just one single concept from this entire explainer today, it absolutely has to be this one. Okay, so every single AI system carries 2 numbers, and they're constantly pulling against each other. One number is the outcome you want, right? Like time saved or tickets deflected. But the other number, that is your ceiling metric. And this is terrifying because this is the absolute worst thing your system can do. If you're in financial ops, it's a false approve that accidentally pays a bad invoice. In enterprise research, it's leaking a highly permissioned confidential source. In clinical scribing, it's hallucinating a medical dose, which is literally life or death. The ceiling metric, you have to hold it near 0 at all times. So how do we actually balance these 2 pulling forces? Well, you don't just go chasing some shiny, round accuracy number so you can slap it on a slide deck. No, you set the ceiling first. If a false approve is incredibly expensive or dangerous for your business, you lock that ceiling near 0. Then your outcome, whether that's your straight-through processing rate or your deflection rate, it gets to be whatever that strict safety ceiling permits. Think of it like this. You only tune the outcome up as much as your guardrails allow. The ceiling is boss. And this brilliantly illustrates how the 2-number rule applies practically everywhere across the enterprise. Let's say you have a support agent. Your outcome is the deflection rate, but your ceiling is incorrect actions. Or take financial ops. Sure, you want straight-through processing, but your ceiling is that terrifying false approve rate. What about a sales development agent? You want high qualification accuracy, but your ceiling is fabricated claims, basically the AI lying to a prospect.
across every single domain. The product judgment that actually wins is splitting these two up and treating that ceiling as the unbreakable gate to getting into production.
But here's the catch. You can't just set these metrics on day one and walk away. Deploying this framework means committing to a really rigorous, continuous discovery loop. Moving from pre-deployment testing straight into production monitoring is an ongoing, never-ending cycle. You have to monitor those ceiling metrics in live production constantly. Why? Because the real world is messy. It's always going to throw crazy edge cases at your AI that your original tests never even imagined. When your AI suddenly encounters a totally new invoice format or some bizarre customer complaint, this continuous loop is what ensures you catch that failure before it shatters your ceiling. Which brings us nicely to Chapter 4, Humans in the Loop. Let's talk about your ultimate safety net. You know that famous Klarna story from early 2024? Their AI assistant was doing the work of something like 700 full-time agents. It was slashing resolution times, handling 2/3 of their entire chat volume. On paper, it was a massive, huge deflection success. But then, by 2025, they realized the automation had actually gone way too far. They had to rehire humans just to remain accessible to their own customers. What that story screams at us is that having a human in the loop is definitely not a failure of the AI. Actually, it's a completely mandatory design feature for compliance, for safety, and for trust. Simply put, when an AI prepares a high-stakes, high-impact decision, a human absolutely must be the one to sign off on it.
So, what does this human in the loop actually look like in practice? Basically, it means setting up specific, unyielding governance checkpoints. First, you build in confidence floors. So, if the AI isn't absolutely 100% certain, it immediately pauses and routes the task to a human. Next, you set hard dollar thresholds. Maybe anything over $500 automatically requires human eyes, no exceptions. You also have to program abstention. That means explicitly teaching the AI how to say, hey, I don't know, and to hand it off. And finally, immutable audit trails. Every single decision the AI makes and the exact evidence it used to make it gets recorded. That way, if a human regulator ever needs to look back, they can understand exactly why a choice was made.
Let's see how this builds a truly safe path to production. Spoiler alert, you don't just jump straight into full autonomy. No way. You start with phase 1, retrieve and answer. It's the most constrained, safest version. Once your evaluation metrics prove that phase works, then and only then, you move to phase 2, a bounded tool loop where the AI is allowed to take just a few strictly safe actions. And only when that is proven completely safe do you even consider phase 3, autonomous actions. The rule here is simple. You must earn autonomy through evaluation. Every tiny increase in agency has to be paid for with a hard metric that proves it helped the business without breaking your ceiling. And that takes us to our final section, Chapter 5, Economics and True Adoption. Let's take all this great theory and ground it in the cold, hard reality of what your finance department actually cares about. Unit economics. This is literally how your project survives its second quarter. Look at this. A manual invoice review or a human handling a support ticket, that might cost you up to $15 fully loaded. But an automated resolution, a mere 5 cents. To put that into perspective, that is the difference between buying a fancy craft latte and literally a single sip of tap water. It is a staggering, unbelievable margin. But you have to be super careful here. Advanced features like multi-agent fan-out, where you have multiple AI models chattering with each other to solve complex tasks, that can burn through up to 15 times the tokens. If you just recklessly deploy those heavy, expensive tools on simple problems, you will destroy this beautiful margin entirely. The cost absolutely has to be justified by the complexity of the task. But here's the ultimate reality check. Even if you have absolutely perfect unit economics and a totally bulletproof technical design, there is still one final hurdle: adoption. Because adoption is the single metric that decides if any of the others even matter. Think about it. If an employee doesn't trust the AI citations, they're just going to waste time double-checking everything themselves. If a customer feels trapped in an automated loop and can't reach a human, they're going to abandon the tool out of pure frustration. Trust is earned when the system proves it knows exactly when to hand off to a human. If your users don't trust it, they won't use it. And just like that, your perfect AI strategy fails. So, as we wrap up, I really want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought to help you internalize the stakes of the PM and strategy lens. Ask yourself this right now. If your AI's ceiling metric suddenly spiked today, Like if it suddenly started falsely approving high-dollar invoices or fabricating crazy claims to your most important clients, what would it cost your business before a human even caught it? Let that sink in. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and we will definitely see you next time as we continue unpacking the wild complexities of AI system design.